Okay, welcome back to Coast. As I mentioned earlier, Sears talks that they own Kmart, that they could close their doors for both major retail outlets. This is a dramatic story. Payless Shoes talking about going into bankruptcy, closing a number of their stores, hundreds of their stores. Mish Sedlock is a registered investment advisor. Let's turn to him for what could be a huge economic day here. Things just aren't clicking along yet, Mish. They're supposed to, but they're not.
No, that's just it. Everyone fell in love with the Trump trade, but where is it? And we see the existing home sales report today. Boom. Everyone was excited about home sales in January. February took them all back in more. A 3.3% rise in January, a 3.7% decline in February. This is interesting to me, George, because what they were saying today, the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, was saying today, they're blaming this all on the weather.
The weather?
But, George, why didn't they take credit for the surge in January because of the weather? December was unusually warm, and I actually talked about this on my blog, mishtalk.com. And the GDP now, which is the Atlanta Fed GDP forecast, and the New York Fed nowcast, they've got a sort of competing models here for GDP, both raised their estimates because of what happened in December. It was unusually cold, so there was more demand for electricity, and so they revised all of their forecasts up for the entire next quarter. Then in January, we had unusually warm weather, and it took all of it back and more. So here we are today with existing home sales coming out, and they're saying, well, this was all because of bad weather, but they forgot to take into consideration they were crowing 1 month ago about sales because of good weather. George, it all averages out to, if you take the 2 months together, it averages out to below negative reading, below zero reading.
All right, Mish. Sears saying to its investors and shareholders, which owns Kmart as well, we don't know how long we're going to stay in business. This American iconic store could close its doors.
It could, George. Why not? And the weird thing is, when Sears first went bankrupt, I was talking about that, and I said Sears is going to go bankrupt. And the moment it did, George, the what had happened, the price of Sears Holding, it was converted from Sears to Sears Holding, SHLD, of the stock symbol changed. It absolutely soared. What these vulture, I mean, you can't blame them, George. This is what they do. But these vulture capitalists came in, reorganized Sears, and they stripped out all of the assets, unleashed all of the debt, and the price soared. Guess what? Here we are, back again, heading for bankruptcy again. Anyone who invested in this is, going to lose their money, but these vultures that came in and stripped the assets and padded their own profits, they made billions of dollars off of this. And this happens over and over and over again, George. It's really a crying shame, and the Fed perpetrates this stuff. Home prices are actually back above bubble levels. But guess what? Who benefited from them? The likes of Blackstone and other places, these housing assets, people lost their homes. They were stripped out to the vulture funds. They made their profit. Here we are, prices back at an all-time high. And the National Association of Realtors today said that there's lack of an inventory of housing. There's lack of an inventory of housing for people to sell because home prices have advanced to the price where the average person cannot afford to buy them. But who made the money on this? It was the banks that were bailed out at the expense of the consumer.
But what happened, Mish, to Sears? I mean, they lost track of their consumers. Let me tell you what I think happened. Mm-hmm. In terms of, they always used to be big, selling tools and things like that, craftsman tools and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think
their tools are very good.
Well, they are good, but I think Home Depot and Lowe's and those kinds of big hardware stores ate them up. And then Sears would sell clothes. People don't go to Sears for clothes anymore.
No,
that changed. And then also the other stores I just mentioned, they sell appliances now too. Sears was known for that. They lost their identity. Kmart got smacked. I think Target just blew right past them.
Absolutely. But and we've discussed this before, George, but all of this is now shifting to online. People aren't going to big box stores. They're not going to Sears. They're not even going to Target anymore. They're shopping online at Amazon. I just ordered. I mean, this is like really stupid, George. But for $2 or something, I lost my eyeglass holders. These things cost like $4. So I went out and I ordered a pair of them. And I've signed up for Amazon Prime, so I get free shipping on anything for a full year for a minuscule price. I can't remember what it was, $30, $100. I don't remember, whatever it was. Anything I order, so I no longer have to go out and get anything. I ordered eyeglass straps, and I ordered 4 of these things. They were like $4 a piece. Huh. And the weird thing here is, George, is it actually came in 2 packages. So 3 in one package and 1 in another package. How is anyone making any money off of this? I still haven't figured it out. But that is costing the retailers. Multiply that by the loss of appliances, by the loss of electronics. All of it is going online. People are shopping and buying the least expensive thing they can get, and these big box stores are all in trouble. Now, if you take that one further, and we've talked about this too, and multiply that by, we have this expansion of jobs, and it's all been predicated on expansion of these stores, on Target, on Walmart. They are now shifting to online. Where is the growth in jobs coming from? I don't get it. You don't get it. We're starting to see that now here. But when the Fed keeps these interest rates low and low and low, what's going to happen? So they're raising now. I did not think that they would have hiked this year this early, but they did, and the forecast is still for 3 more hikes.
More hikes.
Not going to come. The economy is slowing really, really badly here by all the measures that I look at. What are your listeners saying to you, George?
Well, everybody's puzzled, too, and everybody blames the Internet for what's happening to bricks and mortar stores. Years ago, Sears used to have portrait studios, which were owned by a company out of St. Louis, because I know them, called CPI Corporation. Mm-hmm. CPI Corporation had some 2,000 outlets in Walmart and Sears stores where, parents would go and bring their kids and things, baby pictures. And it was big in those days when pictures were made on film and they printed them up and things like that. Well, CPI abruptly closed its doors 4 years ago. They just closed all their stores. A publicly held company just went out of business, and that was it for them. I knew then that Sears was right behind them because I could see the writing on the wall. And what's going to happen, Mish, to all that real estate that Sears has anchoring major malls and places like that, the Sears Tower in Chicago. What's going to happen with real estate like that?
Absolutely, George. That is the question here. And we're seeing rising mall vacancies across the board. We are seeing an increasing a push towards online sales, and we're seeing a demographic. George, I hate to admit this. I cannot stand this, but I'm getting older.
No,
getting older.
Not you, Mish.
The listening audience is getting older. It's driving me crazy. George, I wish I was not getting older, but I am. We all are. And I posted a blog on just a few days ago and I was talking about population growth. And the population was growing at 1.8% a year in roughly 1960. It slowed to 1% in 2000. It is down to 0.6% growth now. So here we are. The birth rate is declining like mad as the population gets older. Not only that, the pension promises and the public unions that we've had, we've got something that mathematically is impossible to support here, where the pension promises are soaring at a time when the stock market is actually soaring. The state of Illinois, their legislative pension plan is 13% funded right now, and that is despite 300% gain in the stock market over the last 10 years. These pension plans
they're broke,
underfunded. Amazing, George.
Jeez. So, where are we going to head with this, Mish? I mean, what's happening? First of all, people are waiting for President Trump's tax plan. Mm-hmm. It's not coming because so many of these other outside issues are affecting, I think, the ability to come through with some other things. The health plan program, that's stuttered. What's going to happen in terms of people and jobs over the next couple of years?
It's really quite interesting here now. I wrote about the health care plan actually probably just about an hour or so ago on my blog Mish Talk, and I don't think it's going to pass, George. And if it does pass the House, it won't pass the Senate. There were something like 50 votes to kill the Obamacare when the Democrats were in control of the Senate and Obama was president. Now that the Republicans are in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, we can't even get a bill passed here now.
It's weird.
It's quite easy to say, well, we're just going to kill this. The worry now here, George, is from the Republicans, is if they kill this, that they won't get reelected. So no one ever wants to do anything about cutting expenses, cutting the budget, cutting anything when they're in power. They always want to do that when the other guy is in control. I wish, and I know you wish, George, too, that they could just get together and in a bipartisan way and do what's best for the country.
They can't do that.
They can't. They can't. It is so annoying. And I think if we could just say, let's cut out the politics. And but we can't. I don't know how we get there. How do we get there, George?
Go down to the House and Senate with Bigfoot and just let him run around in there or something. I mean, it's frustrating. It really is. I mean, I want to see this country moving ahead, and I just feel as if it is stagnant. I've got Roger Stone coming in later on tonight as a guest, And, of course, his name's being bantered all over the place these days. So the timing to get him on is perfect. But it's ironic because I get emails from people who do not like this administration. So the mere fact you put somebody on who is for this administration, as Roger Stone is, he was a consultant to Donald Trump, they accuse you of supporting them.
You're going to be accused of George. This happens to me all the time. I am in the same situation as you, and I've heard your lead-ins here about you wanting to just get the issues.
I want the truth and the issues, and I'm right down the middle.
Exactly, and I do the same thing on my blog. Every time, George, that I come out and say, well, I agree with Obama on this, I get accused of being an Obama lover. Every time I come out and I say, well, I agree with Trump on this, I get accused of the opposite. I'm in the same situation as you, different forum. I'm writing your talk, but it happens to me as well, George.
I got an email from a woman tonight, a longtime listener, who said, I'm really disappointed that you're supporting the president. And I wrote her back and I said, look, supporting the president, I'm not supporting anybody. I'm supporting the issues. If President Trump does something that's good for America, I will be one of the first to jump up and down and say good for him. But if he does things that I don't like, I'll say the same thing. I think the wall is a stupid idea.
Absolutely, George. I am 100% in agreement with you. And guess what? When I posted that on my blog, well, you probably know what happened.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of hate mail that I got over that was absolutely incredible.
We have technology today. Look what we have at Area 51. I used this as an example 2 weeks ago. If a mouse steps over the line at Area 51, the alarms go off, and they have trucks and armed guards, and they know exactly where they are. We can put that same kind of technology across the border, 2,000 miles, almost like an invisible line, and then you station your border patrol guards every certain distance. You'd know instantly and where somebody crossed the line.
Let me tell you, George, this is funny because the last time we talked, I was actually in the Anza-Borrega Desert. You remember this?
Yep.
In Southern California.
With a lousy cell phone, if I remember.
Yes, with a lousy cell phone, extreme Southern California. I was out there hiking after dusk, getting back from sunset, trying to get some pictures. I had helicopters. Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Buzzing over me.
They find you.
Every step of the way.
We can put that same kind of technology in.
Tracking me, George.
It's cheaper.
And I waved at them. I waved at, and they were constantly buzzing me. Who is this guy out here walking in the middle of the California desert where he shouldn't be?
Yep. It's cheaper to put in this system I'm talking about. You don't have an ugly 30-foot wall. It works. It's functional. And, we should do it. Anyways, Mish, we're going to keep you for phone calls next on Coast to Coast AM. Mish Shedlock with us as we talk about tragic situations. Hey, if you're by a Sears store or Kmart store and you've been in there lately, call us and tell us what it was like. Was there anybody else in there? Obviously not.